Okay, so state your name and what car did you race?
Nick, and I raced the Chevy S10.
Rob, and I raced the Starlet.
Oh, you could have started this way. That was an easy question. I'm Orien. I did the Centra.
Rob, what problems did you face at the track with your car?
Well, first of all, let's get this story straight. That wasn't a race. That was a practice session.
Mm-hmm.
So my car, that was the first time out on the track, and not a proven chassis, not a proven motor, not a proven tune. And, you know, it faced, it was hard to tell because it rained so hard the first two sessions that it didn't seem less than wonderful, but that's front wheel drive and lousy tires. And by the time it dried out, I realized it had quite a few shortcomings.
Orien, how was your first time driving the Centra?
Oh, this was kind of my second time. The first time, someone decided on crashing on my third lap the last year. But I think this was kind of a retirement party for the Centra.
Why is that?
Just like Rob says, it's a terrible car to drive, but a wonderful car to learn on. A lot of power in the front wheels, especially when it was raining. There was no traction. And a gearbox that I couldn't handle, I guess. It seemed like reverse was in the way, so I had to strip reverse out of there, and then I had no problem going at the fourth gear. We'll stick with that story.
Well, the shifter.
Rob, how do you feel about that?
Well, the shifter is no question. It was tricky to learn, but it wasn't impossible to learn. So it was a learning experience, and I mean, it's too bad. I probably should have let him try the Starlet because I'm much more used to driving the Centra. But I was so excited about driving the Starlet, being that I hadn't driven since last year, and I figured that I had the Centra sort of sorted out because the last time I drove it, you guys saw what happened. The Centra, yeah, so I thought we had a car that kind of worked because of how I had it working last year. So I thought I was going to give Orien a little better experience than it turned out. Now you have to remember, I come from an era when shifters were absolutely frickin' janky. Mm-hmm. They were horrible. They were three on the tree and they'd fall out. You have to hold them in, hang, hang, get your bottom jaw out, hang, hang, and then yank it down. You had to go hang, 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 or you couldn't shift them. You hold it in there, it would pop out. Okay, it was unbelievable how I learned. And shifters, if they're on the floor, you just kind of like, and you just throw it because it was all like, it was horrible. It wasn't until like 1980 that I actually drove a shifter that was like, oh, what the hell is that? Like, I'm so used to this worn out shit. I used to have a Chevy truck with a Hurst external shifter. So levers on the side of the tranny. Well, of course it was worn out crap. Little bits of tin with rubber in between them, and they all had to move in unison. Well, it would get caught between two gears. Click, click. Shifter wouldn't move. Truck wouldn't move because it was in two gears. I'd have to lay out underneath there and get a hammer. Hammer the shifter back. So this is what I grew up with. Yeah. So for me, the Centra is bad, but not impossible. And again, it's good for Orien to have to push himself out of the comfort limit. Unfortunately, you know, it's going to take me 8 hours of re and re, and it's going to, you know, cost us probably $1,000 in transmission. But whatever, there is a price to pay, and that's a good bear because anything pretty well that he tries after that should be more reasonable. And like you said, it's a handful car, and it is drivable, but not, you know, hopefully this time if we get a new tranny, I kind of hope it doesn't shift the same. That might be a dream. Maybe it's just a Centra thing. I don't know. But it even has like aftermarket shifter bushings in it. It should be better than stock. So
okay.
We'll see.
Well,
what
it kind
happens.
of reminded me of the Skyline, but it's just getting that feel of getting in. I don't know. You had to get that certain feel, that certain angle to slide it into the
And
gear.
you have to really push it with authority, and you were trying probably, but
yeah, reverse was in the way, so I pushed that reverse right out of my way.
It certainly wasn't from trying, a lack of trying. You know.
Okay, Nick, what problems did you face at the track with your truck?
Traction.
Traction.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Mm-hmm.
No traction when it's wet. It was good once it dried, but it was pretty in the morning.
How did you feel about getting passed twice by Rob?
I didn't care it was wet out. I couldn't drive more than like 40 kilometers an hour through the turns, so.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Rob, how did you feel about Orien calling your Centra a gearbox?
Well, you know, it's a poor mechanic that blames his tools. Remember?
Was there anything else that you guys faced at the racetrack that was a problem? Besides
The
what you
lack
were
of porta potties within a kilometer of where we were
Yeah,
is
that's
number
true.
one problem.
And no
Braking
mile
numbers.
markers.
And no braking markers, which I raced my whole time in Portland, Seattle, and Westwood. I've never raced without markers, so I'm a marker man. I was lost as all get out there, and it's funny, after the race when the other one of the drivers came up to tell me what a fantastic time he had racing with me, I said I wish I had the same feelings, you know, about racing with you, because I was having nothing but trouble.
Yeah.
And he told me that didn't I have my ABS flipped on? And I looked at him like, ABS? I have never raced anything with ABS, so I don't think I would ever, you know, flip it on, that's for sure, if I had any choice. Or traction control, which they were suggesting we put on. And, you know, I didn't mind racing in the rain. The Starlet was, you know, the front drives, it's a whole other world. Like, it's just a strange world.
And no posi.
And no posi, which is even worse. The Starlet, the one bright thing that I had was that I had a posi, and I could definitely feel it coming out of turn 3. It made it much more fun. I passed people coming out of 3. I never passed anyone ever in the Centra coming out of 3. I passed them everywhere else, but never coming out of that one off angle around the tire
The
turn.
hill.
Yeah,
The bump
it just
hill, yeah.
lights the one tire, and you could just watch people, you know, take off away from you, and you're like, come on.
I want to go left, but it's like, no, it's
I
making me
know.
go straight into the far wall.
No, the Centra's it's a handful, but again, it's good practice, and like I say, calling it a race is like, you know, it was a
Yeah.
good practice
A
day.
lapping
Look at what
event.
we're driving. We're driving 3 ghetto cars that I built, and I built them at the lowest point in my life, where I had absolutely no money. So we're talking about just shit that I threw together that my friends had laying around, or shit that I bought from Craigslist and that didn't run. So that we're trying to turn that into our driver's life racing garage. Hey, it's a pretty, you know, pretty interesting group. We feel a little under budget out there beside all the, you know, whoopity-doo
Porsches
cars
and
and
the-
yeah,
Yeah.
Porsches and Teslas. I had Teslas all over my butt, but you know what? They still couldn't get around me, and my car was just running like a POS. I still couldn't pass the little Starlet, and 85 cubic inches kicking ass. It was funny, really, but not funny for me, because as the builder, I had high hopes, and they were definitely crushed.
Okay, Orien, everyone has saw the video of you spinning out. What was going through your mind when that happened? Or what led up to it?
What are those markers called on the side? The checkered markers around every curb.
The curbs.
The curbs.
Yeah.
No, I just tried to cut a curb a little tight, bounced up on the one end, and because it was wet outside, I landed and I started sliding. I just couldn't save it, and then yeah, just spun out.
You're like, what?
No.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah,
That's
no.
true.
I was like,
If
okay,
you don't
this
go
curb-
into a wall,
Yeah, there's no wall. and there's
yeah,
that's
no
true.
harm, no foul.
Yeah,
That's the way it is in a spin.
Yeah, there's 2 cars behind me. I knew they were quite behind me, one including that Tesla.
Yeah.
But I knew once I went up, this happened before, because I really try and cut that corner hard. But yeah, there's nothing in the way, and if there's a wall, there's a wall. Just brace for impact and hope that car doesn't hit you.
Yeah. Okay, so Nick, was there any other problems besides traction for you? Or was everything else perfect?
I mean, I could have had better tires even in the dry.
Mhm.
Coming out of turn 3 was pretty shit for that.
Better tires.
Yeah.
We just
tires
bought brand
versus
new tires for it, Nito's, but he
Front.
needed better tires.
For the rear.
We're all racing on
We
like
bought tires for the front.
we're racing on 5-year-old bought in 2017 crap, and he needed more tires.
You
You
need
know.
a straight line to drive that truck on, not a curved road.
Yeah. Hey, but he's doing okay. An S10. I mean, it's, you know, once again, we're running what we have, and
better
it
than not
ain't
going at all.
beautiful. I mean, you could have been in a Cadillac, and that would learn you nothing.
Hey, that was fun.
It'll learn you nothing.
No. It was better
I
than
could've
nothing,
used
A
though.
lot better than a Cadillac.
Some track pads too. I was riding street pads and they suck. But other than that,
He means personal pads.
Okay, I got some for you if you need. Just kidding. Okay, well, is there anything else you guys want to add? that was stuck out to you at the trip?
Well, hopefully, you know, this was a good
Subaru.
start to a season, and we can only go up from here, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there anything that you wanted to say about the cars that were there besides yours?
That Subaru is fucking screaming.
Yeah, we had
Yeah.
fun listening to the Subaru. I called it at the track. There was a Subaru Forester out there going, "Bang!" And I'm like, whoa, I've never heard a flat four sound like that before. I said, you know what? Every time I hear that noise, kaboom! Well, I don't think it was one lap after that. There's oil on the track in turn 6, there's oil on the track. And that was that. He blew to
No, he spun
smithereens.
out, didn't he?
Oh, he blew up.
Oh, he blew out. That's
Yeah,
right.
and then he put oil on the turn where we all spun out.
Right.
So, yeah, the Subi was sounding really hot for one lap. There were 2 laps there. I was like, whoa, did you hear that? And it just went like a rocket, and sure enough, there's my little story about Subis. People kept asking me and asking me and asking me, and I love them, but turn them up, they just explode.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see someone bring one out that just goes like heck and doesn't explode, because it would renew my faith in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've lost my faith.
Orien, was there anything else that you wanted to add?
No, just maybe a forecast for the Datsun 510 and Lotus, so we stop driving these wonderful piece of machines.
Yeah. So how are those 2 builds going?
Well, Lotus is going quite well. I'm just trying to figure out how to get seat belts in it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, like everything on the Lotus, you don't just put seat belts in. You take all the f***ing seats out first. Yeah, so that's what we're in the middle of doing, is putting belts in it. So we're getting right down to it on the Lotus. It needs some break-in time before it's a race car. But the 510, we're going to bring it back here in the next day or 2 and hopefully sort out its EMI issue. And we'll have another one, a real car going, I hope. So that would be my dream. And hopefully once we get it going, Orien can shift it better than the Centra, being another Nissan.
Mm-hmm.
That was Mazda actually this time. And the tranny seemed pretty easy to shift, yeah.
What about your Mazda Miata? Do we have any updates on your project?
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working on it still?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Again, once the 510's done, then I'm going to help him build a cage and help him sort of do the last little bits on the Miata, I hope. And at that point, if I don't break any of my other stuff, or we don't break any of the other cars, we can concentrate on the Miata for a while, and after that comes the Skyline.
Perfect.
So
Okay.
that's our dream.
Okay, I think that's it.
All right.